we're through the rather monstrous topic of networking and security. And so let's wrap up our infrastructure with a relatively fun topic. I mean, it's not going to be a party trick you should take out when, when you're going out for the night or whatever, but it is a pretty neat thing to think about, and that's continuous integration and deployment. So as things stand right now in our architecture, they're really good. But on days when it's time to push a release, we've still got a lot of manual work to do. We may need to parse and compile the code down in a certain way, run all the tests, make a Docker image. I mean, there's a number of things. And even after we've got the code nicely prepped for deploy, well, we still have to go in and deploy it. Well, continuous integration and deployment are how we can automate this process. It is the name to when you take the process of deployment and automate it, even though it's ridiculously long. Well, folks like turning this into some magical elite skill. I don't know why, it's just more marketing, but it's really nothing more than this. Making it so that new code can automatically deploy to your infrastructure. So if your developers code a new feature and it gets the thumbs up, well, we should be able to release that right then and there. And that's what continuous and integration and deployment, as you can tell, it's going to trip up when you say it a bunch. That's what this allows for. It allows for us to automate the release process, which as a result makes delivering bug fixes, new features, and value, right, in general to our users a much faster process. Now, if the definition of CICD, and by the way, that's what it's called for short, if the definition of this wasn't ambiguous enough, the way you go about doing it is also pretty muddy. There is no one true way of doing CICD. No, it's actually just a result. What result? Well, the one we just said, making it so that new code can automatically deploy to your infrastructure. And how you arrive at that goal is going to be partly different from the next person, if not completely different. But the process of finding what you need to do every single time, no matter what it is that you're working with, is actually really simple. Just ask yourself this: what steps do I currently take to deploy new code? Do you run tests first? Do you update the Docker image next? Do you build down the application to use different settings for production? And finally, what commands do you use to deploy the updated code base to your infrastructure? Now, some of those things will be in your process, some of them won't be. But whatever those things are, list them out. And that's the script you're going to be looking to write. You're going to be looking to write a script that helps you get all of those things we just said, plus whatever else is, needs to be done for your particular application. You want to write a script that gets those things done. And if you have a script, and by the way, I mean like a programming script, not like a movie script. Well, if you have one, the process is no longer something you have to do manually. And so no matter how crazy of a definition or setup you hear about from the next person, this is all it is in essence. All of those tools and services out there, they just aid in this process, just saying, what do I have to do to get my new code on my infrastructure? Okay, great. I've got those steps. Now I'm going to write a script for them. Now, my personal favorite service for this is Circle CI. And no, I'm not affiliated with them in any way. It's just extremely useful and has, well, for me at least, it's made my life a lot easier. Now, there's a lot of different services out there to help with this, but this one's free and you can scale it out to enterprise power if you need to. AWS does have its own in-house tool called Code Build, but I'll be honest with you, and I was an early adopter of it years ago. It's still and has been very elementary and not exactly the most supported thing. This just comes from, I suppose, AWS's habit, where when they put out a new service, they kind of fish with it, and unless they get a bite and it takes off a lot of volume, they tend to just let it sit there. But anyhow, no matter what you choose, this process is still the same. Taking the steps that you take manually to deploy your code and turning them into a script so that you can automate it. Now, with Circle CI, the way you write that script is going to be different from how you'd write it in, say, something like Jenkins. But at the end of the day, it's still just a script, and it's still just what has to happen to get your code deployed. Now, most of these services have a lot of the same features, whether you're looking at Circle CI, Travis CI, Semaphore CI, or any of these, right? Most of these have their own special way to script things that you want to get done, a source where your code lives for the service to watch for changes, and usually some sort of notification process or console where you can monitor things. Now, why is this such a big boost to architecture? Well, again, if your developers can just write their code, push it to GitHub, and have it deploy across your infrastructure, well, your users are going to be very happy. Your managers they're going to be ecstatic. And building your company's applications is going to be far more streamlined. Oh, and by the way, you'll have one more thing automated that'll free up your time for other things.